Okay, so my name is Gareth. You guys are watching the Hub Online Network, and today we have Carmen Ranta here. We're going to be talking about cannabis, ganja, hemp, all of the crazy things that are going on in Cache Creek around this particular subject. So Carmen, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why we're talking with you?
Well, my name's Carmen Ranta, and I am the locally elected school trustee for Cache Creek, Bonaparte, Wallachine, and all of the rural areas, sort of up to the edge of the Ashcroft kind of community of Ashcroft. And anyway, the reason why I'm involved in supporting MP Brad Vis's petition on the regulation of medical marijuana growing operations in Canada is because I was on social media, I was watching a Facebook group, and there were a lot of concerns coming up about the smell in the downtown of Cache Creek that comes and goes depending on weather. It's very strong some days, and it does interfere with the enjoyment of life for people that live nearby down the river, because the smell tends to kind of settle in the river valley and even into the public school playground, the Cache Creek Elementary School. So that's kind of why I picked up the sword a little bit on this one. And so I saw the post and I thought, well, it is true that maybe I could communicate clearly with Brad Vis. We know each other, and so he's a very active MP. He's working hard on our behalf in our riding. So I phoned Brad, had a meeting with Brad. So did a couple of other community residents here in Cache Creek. I'm not the only person involved in this. And he said, well, you know, it would help to circulate the petition that he had already developed. The petition is not about the smell in Cache Creek. The petition is actually about the regulation process for medical marijuana growing operations in the country of Canada. So this is a Canada-wide petition, and any Canadian can actually sign this petition. The petition will be presented by Brad Vis because his name is on it, and it's a petition to the Parliament of Canada in Ottawa. So once the petition is complete, and I believe that there's many copies of it in circulation in our riding, that the petition will be presented to the Parliament in Ottawa by our MP Brad Vis. Now the petition, like I said, it's not about the smell in Cache Creek. It's about the fact that, number one, the community of Cache Creek, the Cache Creek Council, and other bodies like the fire department and the RCMP legally have no connection with this situation of grow ops in communities. In other words, they cannot regulate or even necessarily know how large it is. Whether it exists or not is even secret. The government of Canada has really set up a really poor process that takes away any local power or provincial power over these medical marijuana grow ops.
Well, as I guess as rules and regulations, now that it's legal in Canada, I guess rules and regulations really haven't really been thought about all the way through. So this particular, let's take a step back. So medical marijuana, what are some of the rules around just medical marijuana in general?
Well, my understanding, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not the MP, Brad knows a lot more than I do about this. I'm simply the community member that's trying to make a difference on a topic that is maybe not even the most important problem in my community of Cache Creek. But what I am aware of is that there's nothing illegal about legal licensed medical marijuana grow ops in Canada.
Yep.
That they've been licensed far longer than cannabis that's being grown for commercial purposes. It's
Okay.
a different set of rules and laws, and it's a different process. So we really are talking about two different things when we talk about legal cannabis in Canada that just kind of came around in the last little while, versus the legal growing of medical marijuana, which is a totally different set of rules, totally governed by the Canadian government. We, as community members and residents of British Columbia, we do not have any type of control over what occurs in our own communities or in our own province through our government.
Right. So what is the petition hoping to accomplish then?
What we're hoping to accomplish is pressure on the government of Canada to say, hey, we're the actual citizens of Canada here. We're being impacted in different ways in different communities by the fact that you are licensing these grow ops, small and large, in communities, and we can't even have any knowledge about how big they are, where they're located, what impact they have on our local communities, such as the issue of smell. Odor can be prevented through filtration systems. This petition has nothing to do with canceling jobs or ruining a business. It's just about, let's play fair, let's work together. And right now we can't do that with medical marijuana grow ops in Canada, and especially here in Cache Creek.
Right. I've looked into this particular subject a couple of times, and there is a large air of mystery about the odor in Cache Creek. I find it interesting that the RCMP are not able to go knock on the door, or do anything about where it's thought that this smell is coming from, because nothing's proven yet. Is there a way for the government through this petition to give power to those regulatory bodies, such as the RCMP or fire department or municipal councils?
Well, Gareth, you've really clarified it really well in your sort of question. The fact of the matter is that it is secret, that the government of Canada is in control of the regulation process, and they've pretty much hogged the regulation process, and they haven't given any power, control, or regulatory power to the British Columbia government or any other provincial government or any municipality. So the petition is actually not about the smell in Cache Creek, like I said before. It's about the regulatory processes that are in place to have a license to grow medical marijuana, given in a shared way to provincial governments and the federal government. And then if that were to occur, then the province of British Columbia could create some municipal processes that would occur at the same time, so that the British Columbia government would have sort of a process for a legal medical marijuana grow up to occur in a community, and then the municipality would develop their own policies and bylaws regarding those medical marijuana grow ups in their own community. So perhaps a municipality could develop their own rules around where they would occur, how big they could be in those locations, that probably some type of taxation, and also situations like we're in Cache Creek, where there's a significant odor that is preventable, yet the municipality and the provincial government have no way of enforcing a change to deal with a problem like the odor that we're experiencing.
Right. So it's a little bit windy. We'll see if you guys can hear me. So the smell that we're talking about is a cannabis smell. It's very potent in town. This is the building that everybody seems to think that it is coming from, allegedly. What I'm going to do is, I can smell it here. I'm going to do a smell test around Cache Creek and see how far out I can smell it. Okay, so here I am at the most northern part of Cache Creek. I don't smell it here either, but this is going the wrong way from where the smell would be. So I'm going to go back in the other direction and see if anything happens over there, on that side of town. On the other side of the river, the Wander Inn, which is the building in question, is, you might not be able to see it, it's just past the trailers or the mobile homes, and it's just over there. So the post office is another spot where people say that they can smell it. Unfortunately, it's fairly windy today. I don't necessarily smell anything right now. All right, so once again, the building is just right over there. I'm past the building in the direction of where the wind is going, and here I can smell it. There you go, sniff test I'm gonna say is done.
Now you said that you're the one that's sort of taken up the sword on this, but what's the sort of public support that you have? Has there been sheets of it, like several sheets of the petition? Have they been filled out, or are you sort of on one sheet of the petition right now? What's the public saying?
Okay, well, let's just clarify. I know of a couple of people in Cache Creek that do have copies of the petition. I am not an official spokesperson for anyone. I am just trying to ensure that the children in the school playground have fresh air to breathe. I mean, what could be more important than that? Obviously, if it's a public petition, I can't say for all the copies that are out there how many people have signed it, but on this issue, for myself as an elected school trustee, what I have done in my local community, and this is just separate from the school board, is I have written to Cache Creek Council, would you please host this petition in your office, because COVID makes signing a hard copy of a petition, and these petitions have to be signed in person. They can't be an online petition. Quite difficult with COVID, and maybe a little bit unsafe, not able to go door to door, not really that, recommended to sit in the post office, although some organizations have been doing that. I don't myself think that that's really COVID safe for everyone. So fortunately, the village of Cache Creek agreed to host a copy of the petition at their counter at the office, and people can go sign it safely in their office, one at a time. And I've also written to the village of Clinton and the village of Ashcroft. Hopefully they will consider doing the same thing. This is a topic that I've heard of for quite a few years. The fact that municipalities don't have any oversight or any way of really communicating or even finding out about these legal marijuana, medical marijuana grow-ops.
Right. Okay. Well, so now let's switch gears here a little bit. So that's the petition side of the conversation that I wanted to have with you. The other side, if you're able to talk about it, you recently had a sit down with the Cache Creek Council about the possibility of having a cannabis store or legalized cannabis in Cache Creek. Are you able to talk about that at all?
Oh yeah, sure. I was invited, actually it was the letter came from Cache Creek Council to the Board of Education. It was discussed at a meeting, and the Board of Education voted for me to represent them at the meeting, which does make sense because I'm the local trustee for Cache Creek. Plus the village is doing a developing policy surrounding the growing of commercial cannabis, which is a survey process that the village has had. Now the village has had the data collated, and part of their processes was to have a meeting with key stakeholders, not the public because of COVID, I believe, about any views or opinions that these stakeholder groups might have about the sale of cannabis in Cache Creek, or commercial growing of cannabis in Cache Creek.
Right. Well, as of last night, they were changing bylaws at their council meeting. I forget what the number of the bylaws were, but there were two of them that they amended to include the sale. I wasn't aware that they were looking at growing it. I was only aware of the possibility of a store maybe in Cache Creek. But so that's interesting. If that's what they're planning to do, that's the first I've heard about it. So thank you.
Well, actually, if you go on the Village of Cache Creek website, I don't want to speak kind of on their behalf,
Sure.
but I do believe that you can easily see the survey that they distributed to the public, and it did, I think, have some questions about those types of matters, not just the sale. So it even asked the question, are you interested in establishing your, as a business person, legal marijuana, retail sales store, I guess. My role in the meeting was to provide feedback from the Board of Education and about any matters connected with the school and the sale of cannabis in the community. So what I reiterated from the board table and from some discussions I had with individual parents from the school, and just kind of knowing the school well and the area well, having lived here for a long time and being a trustee for quite a long time, is that we requested, or at the meeting, I provided feedback to Cache Creek Council that we would like to see the any retail sale outlets in Cache Creek be at least as far away from the elementary school property as the liquor store is right now in Cache Creek.
Okay.
I didn't measure that. I am entrusting that with council, but I believe that would be more than somewhere around 100 meters or more from the edge of the elementary school property. One of the proposals was that they would allow it 50 meters or further away from the elementary school property, which I sort of said at the meeting seemed a bit too close for comfort for parents and for the community. For the school board also, they reiterated that at the meeting where I reported out.
Right.
Another thing that we requested was that signage not include pictures of cannabis leaves, for instance, like they do in other communities. And the rationale behind that was that for students to see a picture of a cannabis leaf on their way to and from school for, from kindergarten to grade 7, it might leave sort of an impression that that's something to include in their lives just because of sort of the visual suggestion. Right. So we aren't necessarily in favor or opposed to the use of cannabis. It's just that, for instance, at the liquor store, you don't see a bottle of beer on the sign. You don't see a bottle of wine on the sign. And same with cannabis. In my opinion, it sends a message. So that's the feedback that I gave on the 2 key points. The village seemed very careful and very concerned about a vast gamut of issues at the meeting and things I hadn't even thought about. But it's just quite a different process from the petition issue, the petition that we're circulating in the community.
I would imagine this. What it sounds like is if the supposed place that has the current possible cannabis growing in it dealt with the building and odor better, maybe it wouldn't be such an issue because you would never know. But but these are two very clear different issues. If you were running the show, where would you, and let's just say that Cache Creek is going to put a store in, where would you think would be the most appropriate place right now? If you could put it anywhere.
That's a very good question. I haven't even really thought about that. I mean, I have in the past heard that it's difficult to find a rental property for a commercial use in Cache Creek. I just have to leave that to the open market, I guess. I myself haven't I haven't really given that enough thought to comment on where the best place would be, but I do know for sure that the Parent Advisory Council members and, you know, the Board of Education board members just don't want to see it too close to the school.
Okay. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you would like to say on this particular subject?
Well, I would just like to remind everybody to please go sign the petition. Hopefully it will be available at the Village of Ashcroft and the Village of Clinton offices as well. We'll know that after their next meeting. It's on their agenda, I believe. I'll leave that in your hands to kind of get the message out. Why is this important? It's important to gain so that, you know, our fire department can inspect the property. Right now, they don't even have the legal right to know it's there. The Cache Creek Council could help us out with the issue of the odor, or the provincial government. The RCMP could have some type of authority over that property. And then also I believe that the secrecy of the situation right now, where, you know, me as a citizen, I don't have a legal right to even know for sure what is going on at the Wander Inn building. Even though I walk by that every day, I could even get a job right next door. I have no legal right to know that that's a medical marijuana grow up. And actually right now, here in this interview, I am assuming it's a medical marijuana grow up. We smell it, we kind of get the feeling that it's there. It's secret, and the Canadian government should not have the right to decide for citizens and communities these operations and where they are, and then keep it a secret from everyone. I don't think it's right.
Fair enough. Right on. Well, I appreciate your time today. We do have an interview with the Clinton Cannabis store to talk about these similar types of issues. And see what their thoughts are, having a store going on. So I'm going to take that and sort of put it in with this interview. And so stay tuned for that. And, oh, how long is the petition going to be going on for? Like is there a cutoff date?
The petition does not have an official cutoff date. I've just kind of targeted the end of January for Cache Creek, just because it sort of puts a little pressure on people to go and sign it. And right now in January, Christmas is over. Hopefully people have time for something like that. However, if the other communities around us are still hopefully able to host the petition, hopefully in support of the thinking behind it, which is really about local government. It's much more about local government than it is about, you know, issues in communities, because we're just trying to develop good process so that we can address issues in communities through our local government. So I would say that it would be definitely over by the end of February is when I would say that we got to get this moving forward. Anybody from Canada, living anywhere in Canada is allowed to sign it. There is a place for email addresses on the form, but that is not a requirement. However, addresses are a requirement and a signature. So it's kind of old fashioned the way it's set up, but we really hope that people will take the time to address this issue for us. And thanks a lot for the interview.
Sorry, last question. Is signing the petition enough, or would you also like, would you and MP Vis like letters of support, like emails of support at all, that you can attach to it?
I personally, I think letters are a wonderful communication tool with government. I don't think writing a letter is ever the wrong thing, especially in our society here in Canada. So if a person is as passionate, let's say, as I am, or the other folks that are gathering signatures on the same exact petition, maybe a different actual hard copy, they will all be put together and counted together. I would say that if you feel passionate that the rules aren't fair for residents and for communities in Canada, yeah, I would say a letter would be great, but make sure you sign the petition as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the letter should be sent to MP Brad Vis. You don't even need a stamp. If you mail your MP, you don't need to put a stamp on it. It's Brad Vis, Member of Parliament, House of Commons, Ottawa, K1A0A6.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Carmen, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.